Good evening. This is the show for the Good Neighbor Food Pantry called Take This Bread. And my name is Thurman Greco, and we are going to have a very, very interesting program this evening as part of our continuing series of living frugally that we're going to try to implement throughout 2012. And this evening, we're going to have a yoga show here. And we're going to actually offer some yoga. So people will be doing yoga exercises this evening. If you think that you'd like to have one of these DVDs after the show, give us a call at 845-399-3967 and we will send one out to you. These DVDs do cost us $5 a piece, so there will be a charge for the DVD. But in any event, this is going to be a really nice show, and if you'd like to join us, we're going to be chatting for a few minutes. So this will give you a chance to get down on the floor and join us in a yoga class. And of course, our yoga teacher is Susan Blacker. And I'm extremely honored to have Susan Blacker because Susan is not only my yoga teacher, you're my husband's yoga teacher, and you work at the community center one morning a week, and you also volunteer in the pantry. But let's go to you, Susan. I know that you give private lessons as well as group lessons.
I do. I work with, as you know, Barry, and he comes bright and early on Thursday morning, and we've been working together, and I think the yoga that we do has been really helpful for his, I believe he has some arthritis, and just his energy is flowing, and I really love working with him. It's great.
No, actually, the work that you have done for my husband has been a miracle, because when he came to you, he could barely move. And it came on very suddenly. It wasn't as if this is something that just was going down a path and all of a sudden he had to face up to reality. This was like, boom, I'm in trouble. And to be perfectly honest, when he first started coming, I told him that he was going to come to your class or else. And he was so sick that he couldn't face the or else. And he mumbled and jumbled and kicked and fumed and carried on, but he went. And now he goes, and when he has to cancel a class, he's very upset about it. The yoga is wonderful for him. And I am so pleased at the fact that he's able to do that.
I think the wonderful part of yoga is that it can be very, very helpful, certainly if you're in good health, but it's also wonderful for arthritis, for high blood pressure, any anxiety, stress. It's just so universally wonderful that I'm just thrilled with it.
I think one of the nice things about yoga too is that wherever you are is fine.
Exactly. That you can get the benefits of yoga wherever you start, whether it's your first class or whether you've been doing yoga for 5 years, 10 years. Benefits, you begin having benefits whenever you start. And I started my yoga when I was in my mid-years, and I fell in love with it almost immediately. And when I retired from teaching, went for my training at Corpalo, and as time has gone by, have fallen more and more in love with it, and realized age doesn't matter. You can do it from a little, being a child, all the way up to senior years, and the benefits just keep on rolling in. So it's really a wonderful practice.
Where do you teach?
I have a class at the Woodstock Community Center on Wednesday mornings. That begins at 9:15 to 10:30, which is donation to participate. It's a senior program. I do a senior program in Saugerties on Friday mornings from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That is $5 per class. And then I have 2 classes from home in Saugerties. And the special thing I love about that is I have a small studio, and I have about 4 to 5 students in a class, and I'm able to give them special attention, and people are able to go at their own pace, so I like that as well. And then of course I have Barry, and I have several students that I just see privately. which I'm also thrilled with. I love working with people who do have some challenges and seeing how yoga can really make a difference in their lives. So it's all good.
If somebody wants to sign up for a class about yoga, or if they want to try to get a DVD, how can they contact you?
Well, right now, I don't have a website yet, but they can call me at home. I can give me information there. And my phone number, should I give it?
Yeah.
Is 246-5941. And I would be thrilled to talk to you about yoga if you have questions about it. Or again, if you'd like to discuss when the classes are given, I'd be happy to do that.
So tonight you're going to offer yoga with yourself and 3 students?
Yes, 3 special yoga people, friends as well as yoga practitioners, and they've agreed to come on, and we're going to have a class together.
Right here on the floor.
Yes.
Well, we still have a couple of minutes before it's time to actually start the class. So I'd like to have a couple of announcements if we can. First of all, I would like to give a plug to our continuing series on frugality. And next week we're going to have Dawn Castile-Lorick on. Dawn Castile-Lorick is an animal communicator and a healer, and she is the real deal. And I tell people there is many healers in Woodstock as there are musicians and artists. But Dawn is the real deal. And there are things that you can do on an ongoing basis to take care of your pets, to reduce the costs of the veterinarian. I am not talking about instead of the veterinarian. I'm talking about Dawn knows about nutrition, so she can talk to us about what is the best kind of food for your animal, and we all know that the better food you serve, the better it is for the pet. And also she's going to talk about some other things that she does. We may have a canine massage class here. We're going to deal with this for about an hour. So if you have any questions about animal health, please don't hesitate to call in during the show next week, and Dawn and I will be available to help you answer your questions. And then the following week, we are going to have an interesting class because we are going to have some shelter people here. And if anybody knows of a shelter that you would like to hear from, give me a call at 845-399-3967. Let me know which shelter it is you'd like to hear from, and I will contact the representative of that shelter and try to get them here. Now, shelters include women's battered shelters, we have AIDS shelters, we have homeless shelters, we have shelters for abused children. The shelters, the reason I'm highlighting the shelters is because there has been a serious drop in funding for shelters. And I want to bring this out. I want people to be aware that these places that have been taking care of the least of us are now going to be looking for new income streams because of recent cuts, and by that I mean within the last week. So that's something that I really would like to bring up. So we do have the next 2 shows taken care of. And now, if you guys would like to join your teacher, and let's have a wonderful yoga class.
Thank you. And as well, we're setting up, if people at home would like to get a towel, get set, pillow, and you can sit either on a chair, if that works better for you. Great. So while we're getting set up, I do invite you to, as I mentioned, get a towel, a pillow. You can either sit on the floor on a chair, And if you might have noticed, I have a blanket on the mat, and this really helps.
The virus database has been updated.
It helps to balance. It helps your pelvis to sit more comfortably. So if you have any achiness in your lower back, I really suggest that you fold a blanket and sit at the edge of the blanket. Or I think Jill is sitting on a block. Yes, right. And Perry on a chair. And I also now would love to take the opportunity to introduce participants, Jill and Linda and Perry. And they'll be doing yoga with me today. And as you notice, Perry's on a chair. So if you have any issues with standing, yoga can be done quite well, quite remarkably in a chair. And Jill is sitting on the block, which also can position you up a little bit higher, which can be very beneficial. So I certainly invite you to come and join us in yoga, our yoga session for this evening. So finding a comfortable spot. If you are sitting on the floor, I'm sitting in easy pose. It's called easy pose. Or you can also have your legs extended out. If you have achiness, you can position yourself against the wall for comfort. So you have some choices. Then you can also place the soles of your feet together if that's more comfortable for you. One thing I'd like to say as we begin is to really take care of yourself. And if I suggest a stretch, a pose, a movement that doesn't work for you, that seems to be painful, please don't do it, because the best judge for what's best for you is yourself. And I think one of the wonderful things about yoga is really learning to honor yourself and your needs. So it's a nice place to start. So finding yourself getting a comfortable position and noticing your sits bones as you either sit on the chair or sit on the floor, and coming a little bit forward on your sits bones and a little bit back, and going to one side and then the other, and then coming back and just finding the place that feels just right, when you feel like it's your home, you feel balanced. And rolling your shoulders softly back, lengthening, imagining that there's a touch on the crown of your head, and with that touch, with that imaginary touch, thinking about lengthening out of your waist, and just, as again, softening into yourself and your own experience. And now placing left hand on your abdomen and right hand on your upper chest. And you can either gaze down to the floor or close your eyes. And we're going to be doing a little bit of breathing to just help ourselves become more centered. So as you breathe in through your nose, allow the breath to travel down and feeling your belly round and fill with breath. And then on the slow exhalation through your nose, allowing your body to soften, abdomen flatten, and you might even fit in a little squeeze at the end of the out breath. And then one more time, breathing in through your nose, feeling the roundness and fullness of your abdomen, and then easing down with the exhalation. Hands returning to your thighs. And again, awareness to the crown of your head as you lengthen up out of your waist. You're going to begin warming up, breath in, and then slowly turning your head towards the right. And inhaling back to center. And with the out breath, turning toward the left. And once, and coming back with breath back home. You'll notice I mentioned home as just being that place when you're centered, when everything's right here. And now, bringing your right ear toward your right shoulder and noticing the stretch on the opposite side, letting gravity do its job, and then breathing in as your head comes back up to center, and then left ear towards left shoulder, feeling that stretch on the opposite side. Nice. And breath in again as head comes back to center. And with breath, right ear to right shoulder, then bringing your chin down to the throat, and then traveling to the left side, crescent shape. And the other way, rolling back, ease in your neck, and then back up to center. Warming up your hands, rubbing them together. Good. And then interlocking your warmed hands behind on your neck and just appreciating that warmth on your neck. And imagining that you have a crayon on the tip of your nose and beginning to make small circles and letting that touch ease your neck, easy circles, and then turning in the opposite direction. And you can play with the rhythm. Yeah, good. Nice. And slipping your hands back down. And now awareness to your shoulders and pressing them up towards your ears. Press, press, press. And then easing them down. Nice. Pressing in again. And easing them down. Nice. And beginning now with some slow circles. Up, shoulders up towards your ears and rolling them back and again. And dropping into your own experience. Noticing the tempo that you enjoy. And rolling up and back and down. And now the opposite way. Shoulders come up towards your ears. Come down. Nice. Very nice. And one more time, pressing your shoulders up towards your ears, and then letting them soften down. Perfect. And extending your arms out, and giving our wrists and elbows a little bit of movement. So beginning to circle wrists. They're these unsung heroes. Our hands are so busy all day. So doing some nurturing to our hands with circles. And the opposite direction. And then just some movement above and out to the side and in front. And then waving your hands to the floor. Great. Perfect. Nice. And interlacing your hands and pressing them away, feeling that luscious stretch. And then let them slowly come on up towards the ceiling. And with breath, moving back and forth. Nice and natural movement. Ease and bend in your elbows as you flow back and forth. Nice. And coming back to stillness. Separating your fingers and letting your hands float down. And with one palm up, with the other hand, you'll press the fingers back. And imagine you're moving your arm over a basketball. So beginning to make circular motions around. And I often find this movement quite delicious, doing this. And then now with the opposite hand, pressing your fingers back and beginning to circle and really appreciating the movement. Nice, nice, very nice. And with palm up still, with one hand, massaging the palm of your hand and then each finger massaging down. And if you should happen to notice any achiness, just give that finger or the palm some special attention. And now the other hand, some massage of the opposite hand and some warm up for the joints of your fingers. Right. Good. Very nice. Very good. And now we're going to be coming into a seated twist. That will be very, very nice movement for spine and for flexibility. And it's also a lovely way to allow tensions that might have built up from your day to have a way to be expressed out. And Perry will be doing it on the chair, and Linda and Jill seated. So again, pressing up as we breathe in, arms lifting, and then placing your left hand on your right thigh, right hand in the back, and slowly turn to the right, and having the movement travel up your spine as you gaze right. Easy breath. And breathing arms out to the side as we come through center, and with breath going to the opposite side, right hand to left thigh, left hand to the floor as you gaze left, and appreciating the movement, and arms coming back up as we float back to center. And again, interlacing your fingers and stretching your hands up, up, up. Nice. Again, this can be feel very good. And separating your fingers now as your hands come down to your thighs. And a bit more movement for our back and spine. So as we breathe in, lifting your heart up, hands flow back towards your torso, lifting your heart. Shoulders relaxed. And then on the out breath, fingers move towards your knees. You think about your belly button coming towards your spine as you look down to the mat. Ease in your shoulders. And again, breathing, hands flowing up. Lifting your heart. Shoulders relaxed. Appreciating the movement in back body. And then fingertips flowing back down to your knees as you gaze down towards the floor. Nice. And coming back up. And now we're going to be extending our legs out in front. We've had them crossed for quite a bit, so just give them a little bit of a shake. And nice shake. And flexing your both feet up, and then pointing. And flexing. Nice. And in fact, we're going to alternate now. So letting your right toes point and your left foot flex. And then we're going to alternate. Yeah, good. Pointing and flexing and pointing and flexing. Nice. And toes up again. And now you can widen up your legs a little bit in some easy circles around in one direction. Yeah. Great. And in the opposite direction, rotating ankles. And now with the breath, letting your toes get really, really wide. And then with the next breath, scrunching them together and really, really wide. This time of the year, I know we've had our toes and feet in boots, and they can get very crunched. So this is a really lovely thing to do. So crunching your toes again and letting them ease out. Great. And again, shaking your legs again. Nice. And bringing the soles of your feet together. Right. Very nice. And rocking again, going to one side on your sits bones, and then the other. And back where you feel just in that center spot, in that place where you feel at home. And we're going to be doing a forward bend. And forward bends are very, it helps to ease the central nervous system. So if you're having a jittery day, doing a forward bend or forward fold can really ease that tension. So with the breath, first we're going to get nice and tall. And we're going to tip over, starting from your hips and tipping forward, letting your head be in line with your spine as you tip forward, and then come on up with the breath. Also thinking about your belly button kissing your spine, so moving toward your spine. And one more time, I'm going to tip forward, gazing down. Notice where you feel the stretch. And then coming back up. Nice. And flapping our knees in butterfly. Perfect. Very good. And extending your legs out once more. And toes are up to the ceiling. Again, feeling the sits bones pressing into the mat. Placing your fingertips by your hips. And coming to the pose called Dandasana, which is a very, very centering pose. Helps, again, to really feel at home with yourself. So your feet are flexed and your nice full breath and sitting in Dandasana. Wonderful. And I'm hoping that all is going well at home. And if you need to go and get a towel or a blanket, because we're going to be doing a few movements on the mat, doing table movements. It's called table. So I'm going to slip the blanket away. And we're going to come into table pose. We're going to come on to our hands and knees. And Perry, when we do that, we can do on the chair, you can do the bringing up and coming down on the chair, okay? So coming on to your towel or your mat and placing your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hip, and breathing in, and then as you breathe out, arcing up as if you were a Halloween cat. So arcing your back up. Nice. And then with breath coming on down. And just tilting your tailbone a little bit and looking forward. Nice. And again, belly button toward your back and arcing up like a cat. Oh, this is going to feel so good. And then letting the movement ripple through your spine, tilting your tailbone and gazing forward. Nice. And come on back to table, to a flat back. And begin now to circle around one direction. And then the opposite way. Slow and easy. Great. Good. Very good. And now we're going to be coming to standing. So we can do this. You can, if you're home and you'd like to hold on to a chair to stand up, that's just fine. Another suggestion is you can bring one foot in between your hands and the other, and then pressing up to standing. Nice. And great. And just shaking your hands a little bit. And tapping one foot and the other. Perfect. And we're going to do a few more warm-ups. So separating your feet about hip width apart, placing your hands on your knees, and beginning to circle nice and easy around. Nice warm-up for your knees and ankles. Nice. And the other direction. Great. Perfect. And then moving your knees back and forth. And coming up to standing. There you go. Good. Very good. And one of the special things about yoga that's so unique is the weaving of breath to movement. So, and I think doing the sun arms is a lovely way to introduce that or to reinforce that idea. So as you breathe in through your nose, arms will come up. Right, palms together. And then as you breathe out, letting your arms float back down to your sides. Nice. And again, breathing in as your arms come up. Palms facing up. And then on the out breath, reaching out with your fingertips to both to the walls and letting your arms float down. Nice. Very nice. Right. And we're going now continue with a standing pose, which is called the mountain. And the mountain is such an amazing pose. I think of it as like the grandfather, the king of poses, because it has wonderful benefits and it relates to so many other poses. So gazing down and making sure that your feet are underneath your hips. So you have a very strong base and you feel very, very secure. Lifting your toes and feeling under the mound underneath your big toe and under your little toe, and then letting your toes come back to the mat. Nice. And then as if you had a heavy tail on your back. So imagine that heavy tail pulling down a little bit, so it helps to your tailbone to come down a bit. And think about now using the muscles of your abdomen. In fact, place them right there. And seeing if you envision your belly button coming toward your back, so getting nice and strong there. And arms are relaxed by your sides, rolling your shoulders up toward your ears, and then relax them down. And then imagine a touch on the crown of your head. And with that touch, lifting up out of your waist. Nice. And then cactus arms. So placing your arms out to the side in cactus arms. And then let them float back down to your sides. Right. And falling in or coming in to mountain pose. And looking, if you can find a spot at home that you can look at, that's very helpful to get very secure in the pose, very strengthening pose. And often it's said that mountain really helps us to feel grounded and strong. So thinking, might even envision a mountain that you have liked or one that you remember that you've recently seen, and imagine it part of your body. So relaxing into mountain pose, and then breathing your arms up. Fingers wide. And then letting your arms soften down. Nice, very nice. Great. And right arm is going to stay relaxed by your side, and inhaling your left arm up, and we're going to be coming into a quarter moon pose. So as our feet are secure on the mat, and with the breath in, pressing out just a little bit with your left hip and tipping over as your right hand slides down your thigh, and really feeling that length all along the left side of your torso, that crescent shape. Breathing that in again and getting nice and tall. And then your left arm will float down as your right comes up. Again, reaching with fingertips up towards the sky. And then on the out breath, pressing out through your right hip and tipping over to the left. And breathing into that really lovely stretch. And with breath coming on up and letting your arm float down, I should say. Good. And stepping out a little bit wider than hip width apart. Right. And bringing your arms out to the side, palms down. We're going to be doing a forward fold. And as I mentioned before, it can be very, very relaxing to your central nervous system. So it's a really nice one to bring into your life. So letting your knees be soft. We're going to come on down halfway with a flat back. And then you can come down a little more fully with resting on your thighs and letting your head soften down. Or you can come down a little further, resting your fingertips on the mat and shaking your head a little bit. Yes and no. I often think of just any worries I've had for the day rolling off my shoulders and composting into the earth. So letting any worries you have just go, and pressing again into the soles of your feet as you come up halfway. Arms out to the side and coming up to standing, lifting up, gazing up. I'm going to do that one more time. So reaching out with your arms, palms down, hinging over, soft knees. Again, being very respectful of what works best for you, checking in. And then you're letting your head soften down, fingertips on the mat, or halfway, or forward on the chair. And shaking your head yes and no. And take a moment and squinch your face together. Squinch your eyes, your nose, your mouth like a raisin. Just squinch, squinch, squinch. And then soften. Coming up halfway again. Palms to the floor. And then coming up. And again, greeting yourself. And palms come together as your hands slowly come on down towards your heart. Very nice, very nice. I'm going to be doing one more strengthening pose, which is a chair pose, and is one that is amazingly strengthening and grounding. So again, we're going to come back to table, to mountain pose, right? And placing your hands on your waist and imagining that there's a chair just in back of you, and you're just gently bending your knees, and you're going to tip your bottom a little bit because you're about to sit in that chair. So that's perfect. And then tipping your torso a little bit forward. Nice. And we can just pulse a little bit. It's also a nice way to ground ourselves and feel strong. And then breathing one arm out, palm down, and then the other. And coming into chair pose. Head in line with spine. Feeling the breath. And pressing in as you come back up, arms lift. Very strengthening for bones. And your arms will float back down to your sides. Beautiful. Really, really nice. And the two classes I have in Sorbites and in Woodstock, we often do a balancing pose. We didn't, so I thought maybe we could parallel standing. We could come in a circle. Okay. So this is something that we do. I thought it might be fun to do right now. So we're going to be with breath. As you breathe in, we're going to lift your heels off the floor. So we come up with the in-breath, we come up. And on the exhalation, we're going to bring our heels down. So at home, you can hold onto a chair as you do that. Or you can, if you're doing it with someone else, you can hold hands and do it. So coming up, bringing your heels up. And then as you breathe out, your heels come down. Your toes can lift up off the floor. So see how that works. And one more time, breathing up. And letting your heels come down and your toes come up. And then let your foot rest on the floor. Right? So again, holding onto a chair. We're going to just cross, bring your energy and weight to one leg, to your right leg. And then cross the left in front. Great. And breathing your arms up. And then letting them come down. And uncross your legs. And taking your weight to the opposite leg. And crossing right in front of left, excuse me. Good. Taking a moment, using your vision to help stabilize you. And then bringing your arms up. And let them soften down and uncross your legs. I couldn't resist doing this with Jill and Linda and Perry. So coming back to your spot. And we're going to be coming back down to sitting for a closing, a brief closing. So Linda, come on down. Again. Great. Finding your seat and taking a moment to check in. Notice how you're feeling. Right. Ease in your breath. And this time, close your eyes. So if you're sitting down comfortably, take a moment, closing eyes. Again, placing your left hand on your abdomen, your right hand on your chest. And as you breathe in, feeling the fullness of your breath. And as you breathe out, softening. And then again, as you breathe in, feeling the fullness of your breath. And softening as you breathe out. Eyes opened. And breathing your arms up. Palms come together. And then we're going to let them come down in front of heart. And in yoga, we call this position Namaste. And when we say Namaste, it means that the light in me honors the light in you. So let me say Namaste. It's been a pleasure doing yoga with you today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Thurman. I didn't